Hey guys, what is up? Shadolance back for another review. Today I am going to be doing the new G11. It's an assault rifle released by Combat Arms, and it does not look like a usable weapon in any way, in my opinion. It looks more like a piece of a car, to be completely honest, with a scope on top. And strangely enough, the scope is not high magnification. It is actually just a typical ACOG scope, which is fine in my opinion. I mean, I like the ACOG scope. And this gun is great for tapping, so, I mean, it's fine. But overall, I'm going to hop into the stats. Damage of 39, so just kind of average, maybe a touch below. Today's standards are typically like 40 to 42, but 39 is still not bad. Portability 65, rate of fire is 74, so 74 is above average, which is usually like 70 to 71. Accuracy is 83, so for this type of assault rifle, 83 is actually quite high. Usually you see between 75 and 80. 83 is a bit on the high side. Recoil 67, although the recoil is actually incredibly low, and it's arguably, although the recoil pattern and stat, actually, I'm pretty sure, are both technically higher than the M416 CQB, the type of recoil pattern is even easier to manage, in my opinion, especially for tapping, because the recoil pattern is literally straight up and down with very little side variation. So when you're tapping, all of your shots are going to go almost perfectly accurate. You can actually tap this thing faster than the G36, which I found very difficult to believe. And I did want to say, despite the fact that it does not have a silencer customized onto it, it doesn't have a silencer on it, it does have a very, very quiet sound. The gun is incredibly quiet. Lots of people realize this right off the bat. Now, I have kind of a lukewarm feeling about this weapon. It's kind of like there's things I like about it, things I love about it, things I hate about it, and things that I could just say, well, whatever about it. Something that really kind of gets on my nerves, but it wouldn't defer me from buying the gun if it was absolutely outstanding in every other way, is that it's freaking huge on the screen. I actually compared it to the M107. It is bigger on screen than the M107, which is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. So, it does have an automatic and a burst mode, and the burst mode is extremely accurate, even among most burst mode guns. So, your burst mode shots are pretty much always going to land dead on, even at longer ranges. And as you can see there, each individual shot will have quite a bit of upward recoil. Like, in comparison, it will have a lot of upward recoil, but the damage drop-off is next to nothing. There's very little damage drop-off on this gun. It's not the lowest damage drop-off gun in the game, but it's very, very low as comparison to just the typical assault rifle. I'd put it in the top 80%, that's for sure. Now, one thing that caught a lot of people's eyes is that this gun has a 50 of 50 magazine size. Well, a lot of people immediately thought, oh wow, I never have to reload. And while that may be a great thing, it's like, but you're missing 20 shots. You're losing 20 total shots of ammo. And guns like the Autumn G36 Valkyrie actually gain another 20 shots by the 35 of 105 magazine size. So, or 35 of 115. I can't do math right now, but anyway, they have the extra 30 shots, and this one's extra 20 shots, my bad. And this one's actually missing an additional 20 shots. So not only is it limited with ammo, it's just kind of, I feel like it needs to have the extra ammo. I think Nexon may have kind of screwed that up a bit. If they made it 60 of 60, that would have been a little more appealing to me. Now, I have never even seen this weapon before in real life or otherwise. I don't even know if Nexon just made it up, because I have no clue. It looks like, I'm reading on the wiki, it's made by Heckler & Koch, so I mean, that doesn't really surprise me given the way the gun actually looks. But just the typical metallic design with just kind of the bulkiness to it, similar to like the M4 series and all that. It looks like a Heckler & Koch gun, so I guess that makes sense. But overall, the draw speed is relatively fast. It's not super slow. It's kind of in the mid-range. The firing animation, like the firing, it's just kind of, you know, 74. I kind of went over the rate of fire already. 74. So scope, when you spray in scope, I'm kind of lukewarm about that as well. The first few shots are very, very accurate, and they're usually just an up and down pattern, so if you're aiming directly at the chest, you're actually quite likely to get a headshot at almost any range. But there's some things I did notice, and I will disagree with Arctic about one thing, and that's that he says it's not very good for long range. And while it's not the worst gun in the game for the long range, he says it's not that great at all. I actually find the contrary to be true. If you use if you just typically tap this gun instead of spray it at long ranges, if you spray long range for almost any assault rifle, it's not going to be very effective. But for this gun, I think that if you were to like tap long range, or even use your burst mode long range, you might be a little more, you might be better rewarded. Let's just put it that way. So you may find better use of the gun. Overall, if I had to say whether you want to buy this weapon or not, if it's your first assault rifle, I will agree with Sniff. Sniff said this, actually. He said if it's your first assault rifle, you may not want to choose this weapon. You may want to use a more generic weapon, and I agree with that. If this is your first assault rifle, you may want to choose something else, unless you have an alt account and it's not technically... I mean, if it's literally your first assault rifle, I wouldn't choose this for a first. I would choose this... Not even... Sniff said if you're a collector, which you may be, and if you're a collector, this is a great thing to add to your collection, just as Sniff said. But I don't think that being a collector shouldn't necessarily warrant buying literally every gun. I mean, I realize that both Arctic and I and Sniff are all kind of collectors of these guns, but even I don't go and buy every single one, and I'll tell you the truth, I'm not going to buy the G11 unless I eventually decide I may want it or may not want it for my alt account, but I won't be buying it for my main. I don't really think I'm going to get this gun for myself, let's just put it that way. Not that it's a bad gun, it's a great gun, it's a lot of fun to use. But it's not one I would typically use for competitive gameplay. I can see where it would have its strengths, but I can also see why it would have a lot of weaknesses as well. There's a lot of things that make this gun just not as good as some others. If I had to pick, I would still take my G36E Valkyrie over this, just because of the damage stat. This thing still has only that 39 damage, so I just feel kind of in the middle ground with this weapon. It's not a bad gun, just there's better. I think it's a good idea that Nexon released it, though. It definitely is a unique weapon. That's one thing they've been kind of lacking recently. They haven't really been releasing a whole lot of unique weapons. With the Nemexis weapons, it was just a rehash of guns that already existed. And with the LR300ML, although it was remotely unique, it was basically just using an M4 that had lower recoil, and you can't put a scope on it, so it's basically just kind of useless in general, the LR300ML. So the guns they've been releasing recently aren't exactly unique or even useful for that matter, but I can see why this gun might be quite useful. I will agree with Arctic, before I end this review, I will say I agree with Arctic on one thing. This gun is not very well built for close-hand combat. I would take an M4 series gun, whether it's M4A1 or M416. Any of those other Heckler and Koch guns would be a lot more useful, in my opinion, at that kind of range. So I just wanted to throw that in there before I kindly finish this. Once again, I have to apologize for the oil rig gameplay. I got a ton of reviews done today. I mean, an absolutely ridiculous amount. I've never done this many reviews in one day. Oh, and I also did want to point out, I know it took me a while to realize this, but I actually did do that, well, not realize it, but I did this review from a Clanmates account. I used TS Admin. So TS Admin, I know this is in here at the end, but thank you very much for letting me get this review done. I really appreciate that. Big shout out to TS Admin. He's one of the admins in my clan, needless to say. But anyway, thank you for watching this review. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and I am sure we will see each other in the next review. Shadolance out.